Whether by PC, pod, or pad, you are watching Paid to Play. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming along for this live stream of the episode 81 launch party. And I think I've just had my mate Mitchell Davies of Yoko's Corner join in. Yes, there he is. He's just adjusting his microphone right at the moment. So, hello, good morning, and howdy, Mitch. How you doing? I don't know if you can. Oh, hi, Mitch. You've got your headphones on there. How you doing?
I'm not really set up.
Oh, I can hear you fine, though.
It's all good.
No worries. Well, look, I'll keep talking for a little bit. At least that'll keep the screen on me so we don't worry about it. So, yes, welcome again to the Paid to Play episode 81 launch party. I am Rob Farker, your host for this exploration of the dangerous idea that bringing your whole self, especially the parts of you that you worry make you seem silly, geeky, or odd, into your income-generating life is one of the best things you can do. It mightn't be easy, but it is easier than we think and even fear. And with the help of my guests in every episode, I would like to show you how. Today's episode is a chat with a freelance voice talent. So if you are remotely interested in voice work, whether it be voiceover for commercials, narration for audiobooks, character work for audio novels, or doing voice for animated projects like official dubs or even fan dubs for your favorite anime, please have a listen. It's a great chat with a fantastic lady. I was frantically making notes as I went, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later on. Now, Mitch, of course, you are opening Yoko's Corner, which is going to be Cairns' first anime-related store. Have you ever dabbled in trying your hand at any voice work yourself, or do you have any favorite voice actors?
I have. I've tried doing some just mucking about on YouTube series and stuff like that, just for a little bit of fun. But it's hard to get into some of them. Most of them are like non-paid. It's just to muck about, but you know, it's pretty fun. I'm in one right now, but it's not very active, so I might be looking for another one. And you meet a lot of interesting people too.
Now I'm starting to slowly discover a little bit of that myself. I was going to mention this a little bit later on, but I wound up joining a group called the Voice Acting Alliance, and I'm just doing a quick couple of social media checks here. Basically, because Anne mentioned them, from what she told me, the group's a little bit more quiet nowadays as it was when she was an active member. But still, I put up joined up, put up a notice, and I think within maybe 12 hours, I actually had a private message for someone who said they'd like me to try out for this role they've got for their project that they needed an Australian voice for. So thank God I moved up to Queensland, or else I'll probably still be sounding more British than Australian at the moment. No, that's one thing that Queensland is good for. It's kicking anything else out of your accent when you. I don't know if Australian accents get any more Australian than they do in Queensland. Maybe in the Northern Territory. But, so how about you? How have you been doing lately, Mitch?
Pretty much just trying to get my business up and going. I'm going to be doing some courses soon in graphic design, so that's going to be interesting. I'm actually quite excited about that. But that's pretty much it. Looking at courses and get my business up. That and recording for YouTube. So.
Oh, absolutely. Of course, you know that as soon as you sort of like do a course in graphic design, you'll have people coming out of the woodwork wanting you to do their logos and what have you for them, and as practice while you're getting your degree. It's free practice, mate.
Well, I already got someone asking me to do them up a website, So I figured,
Aha.
why not? Because I've done 2 already for some other people, I think last year. And they seemed to like it, so I was like, I'm actually good at this.
Mm.
I didn't know that. Because when I built my website, it was just like a fun thing, and it was just
Yeah.
the whole thing was pretty much, it's just fun to do because you're just creating something that's completely yours. But now you got to create something that's completely someone else's, and you
Yeah.
get to see their face as you create something really cool, and I like that.
Mm. No, it is a amazing thing when you actually get to do something for someone else and, you know, present it to them and then impress the crap out of them. It's
Yeah.
hang on one second. So let's see. I am just adding my that's about everything there. Fantastic. Yes, that is paid content and it's available for everybody. Just putting the episode up on Patreon now, so that's out of the way. I'll sort the YouTube actually stuff it. Let's get that done as well while I'm at it. And once again, he is looking vacantly not at the camera. So let's just very quickly open that. Fantastic. All right, so that's up on YouTube. Let's see. So yeah, in general guest news, there's been a few interesting things happen in the last few weeks, or last couple of weeks since the last broadcast. I just noticed this morning that my guest for a recent episode, Terry Lee Torco, who is a big time tabletop gaming fangirl. She writes for Geek and Sundry. She does video logs all the time about miniatures wargaming particularly. She is at the moment looking for folks who, she just said in the post, the hobby, and because Terry is hardcore tabletop gaming, I'm assuming that's what she's talking about, but basically people who are using their hobby to overcome post-traumatic stress disorder. So yeah, if you know anybody who is basically using gaming as therapy, whether it's tabletop role-playing games, whether it's getting together with mates for a session of Monopoly, or, you know, XCOM the board game, or who paints miniatures and plays Warhammer or War Machine or Malifaux or anything like that as a hobby that helps them you know, get a little bit of control back over their emotional state after major trauma, then Terry would love to hear from you. She's writing, I'm pretty sure she's doing research for an article on that, whether that's for Geek and Sundry or another outlet. I mentioned at one point that on the web that this is starting to become the what's Evie doing to get paid to play now thread as sort of as a regular subtopic, because it almost seems like every couple of weeks my guest Evie Dantes, who is a cosplayer, seems to be doing something new. She's actually just started doing YouTube Let's Play video games for a company called Playbox Entertainment. I'm pretty sure that as of today she's got around 4 of them out. And off the top of my head, I know she's done Battleborn, she's done Doom, she's done Uncharted 4. So if you like to watch Let's Plays, then go check it out. You get to watch Evie Dantes act like an absolute goof while playing these games. It's pretty darn funny, but yeah, she's having fun doing it. And go and subscribe, like the videos, to, you know, put something in the YouTube comments about how much you love them, or even put some feedback down, constructive. Please don't buy into that common trap of YouTube commentary of just putting absolute mean-spirited bullshit there. Nobody needs that, really. If you're finding yourself that miserable, then, you know, go and do something else, for crying out loud, because commenting isn't really going to fix that problem. It'll just, you know, spread the misery. A couple of, I think I might have already mentioned that Major Sam has jumped on the Patreon bandwagon and is offering cosplay tips and various other things as part of her Patreon profile. But just recently, Wayne Nichols, the fellow who has drawn comics for Marvel. He's done The Incredible Hulk and a few other things. He's just recently wrapped up doing Orphan Black Helsinki for IDW Publishing, and he started a Patreon page which he's hoping will help him fund his own personal projects that he's been working on. He's put a couple of pages up already as an illustration as to what he's got in mind and what he's actually done already. So yes, it's good on him. Please go along, subscribe if you're a comic artist yourself, or you just want to get want to support Australian world-class talent in making great comic art and telling very interesting stories. Then please go check out Wayne Nichols' Patreon out. You'll probably find links to it on all his social media presences. I think I've shared it on the Paid to Play feeds on Facebook and Twitter, so you should be able to find them there. And on that general note of Evie Dantes and Wayne Nichols, as I'm sure a lot of people in Cairns are already aware, a local company called Cairns Talk has announced that it is putting on another pop culture convention this year. If you've been following me for a while, you will most likely know of Tropicon, which was Cairns' first pop culture convention that happened on my birthday, July the 11th last year. It was a great event. It was a fun event. It was successful beyond what everyone was expecting. Unfortunately, as is pretty much public record by now, there were some dramas afterward, and the organizer, Charlie Kennel, who was a guest for an episode of the show before Tropicon went out, wound up going to prison on charges of stalking some police officers via social media. I believe he is now out. What is happening with him after that, I don't know. As you folks might have seen on my personal page, robf.com.au, I did step away from the organising committee of Tropicon about a month after the event itself. I've gabbed about it to close friends and whatever, so they know, but publicly, I mean, what I've said there pretty much covers what I'm going to say publicly about it. But the people who are involved with Cairns Talk basically have no affiliation with Charlie. They had nothing to do with the organising of Tropicon last year, and basically they are putting this together because they want to see another pop culture convention in Cairns. Cairns Talk is a private company. I don't know what the general a lot of people tend to be a little bit leery of groups who organize these conventions for profit motives. There are some, like Grant Robinson, my co-guest on that episode with Charlie, who helped organize Sugar City Con for the first couple of years, who got a bit burned out in all the post-Tropicon drama that went down, and he's sort of gotten away from organising conventions nowadays just because he's pretty much, sick of of everything that happened, and the bad name that it inadvertently spread around the local convention scene, I think. He has, said on a couple of times, he's got a great podcast with a friend of his called It's for Nerds, where he talked a little bit about his experiences with the Tropicon dramas. And he's one of these guys who does think that conventions really should be fan organized for the love of it and not for profit. Me, well, hey, I run a podcast called Paid to Play, and I am of the belief that as long as you are honest and you treat people with respect, then there is absolutely nothing wrong with saying, I am providing a service for you. I would, it's work that I put in, it's my passion, and sure, I can do, it is possible that I could do it for free, but frankly, I would like to earn some money back for the work I put in. Everyone finds their balance in different places, folks. So I try not to judge people straight off by whether or not on that pure volunteer basis, great, for profit, bad. It is a kind of tricky thing because cons do tend to run a lot on the backs of their volunteers. So there is that idea that there is a core group who are making money off it, yet there are these people who are giving of their time and own effort of the day, and they basically get not much, if anything. So it is kind of a tricky thing. But look, I've spoken with the folks at one of the guys at Cairns Talk, pretty much the main guy who is organising it, and generally the general opinion is that these guys are actually on the up and up. They seem to, they have a genuine enthusiasm for geek culture. If there is any intent to make money off it, at least it's balanced by trying to do right by locals. It looks like they are wanting to try and smooth things over amongst the local geek population. But getting back to the general topic and why I'm especially noting it here is that they are going to be having quite a few people who have appeared on the podcast up. So if you are in town, you will be able to meet Evie Dantes, you will be able to meet Tworek and Gherkin. Wayne Nichols, as far as I can see, is a lock-in. So there are 3 guests of the Pay to Play podcast whom you will get to meet and possibly hang out with and buy some stuff from, help them get paid to play. And as I said, I have been in touch with some of the guys at PopCon. There is the possibility that Paid to Play Live might be making its return appearance for PopCon this year. And if that does happen, I'm going to make damn sure that I do everything in my power to get at least an audio recording of it. I'm hoping I can queue up some more interviews with some of the other folks who will be coming along to PopCon. So fingers crossed, we'll see what happens there. I am going to very quickly make another quick social media check. Let's see. Back up a second. I'm having a look at Facebook now. So by now, Paid to Play should have gone up. Episode 82 should have gone up there. Come on, quit twitching. There we go. All right. So this means I need to take Adam Coble's episode down. I need to unpin that. And by the way, folks, on that topic, Adam Coble's episode of the podcast, let me just do a quick stat check there. Where is that? Come on. As I jump back into the Pay to Play website dashboard, it did great downloads wise in 12 hours. It, I think, pretty much became within 12 hours it downloaded. Oh, for God's sake, it's forgotten my password. Yeah, it became the second most downloaded episode of the year so far. It managed to come very quickly behind Tworek and Gherkin's episode, and now at the moment, once I just actually, I noticed that I've been doing a lot of waffling on here for a little bit. Yeah, where are we? 1 second. We are. So yeah, Mitchell, have you had any neat little unexpected successes this year, or things go really well for you? The last couple of weeks. Sorry to put you on the spot, but
well, when I was reading up about PopCon, I was actually quite surprised that they came out just out of nowhere. Like, I just heard them out of nowhere, and
yeah,
they're actually one of them. Somebody on the organizing, I can't remember his name, contacted me on Facebook, and I was hoping to get involved with it too. So
fantastic.
yeah, I was hoping to get involved with it. I don't know, just ushering, I guess, or something like that. Because the whole thing with the Tropicon incident caught me by surprise. Like, I didn't think that would ever go down. But yeah, I mentioned I was also a cosplay judge as well with Evie Dantes and Tworek and Gherkin at the event. So I mentioned that. Hopefully they can get me in. I was hoping that would, nudge, nudge,
Yeah.
But I was hoping that would work. But yeah, hopefully I'll get an email soon and they'll give me something to do.
Yeah. Yes, I think I get the feeling that the committee is pretty much working out what they're doing from the ground up. I think it's starting at least in kind of a similar place to where Tropicon was at the beginning, where it was a bright idea with some enthusiasm and drive behind it, but everyone was pretty much learning what they needed to be doing as they went along, and just sort of trusting that they learn and be able to just keep doing all the necessary things and get it done by the time. So there is that feeling of it there, but thankfully at least it does seem to have a bit of a business backing behind it. So we will see what happens on that score. So fingers crossed, yes, we can, they can get you involved, and we'll have a great little con, which will be on, I think, when is the actual date? Let's do a little bit of promotion on that. CairnsTalk.com, all one word, by the way. /PopCon would help. So that is going to be on. They've already got the Fred Mole Pavilion, which is a big venue that's part of the agricultural showgrounds here in Cairns. And I think we've already had a few cosplayers mention that one of the main concerns is making sure everything is, sufficiently air conditioned, which on the one hand, I'm pretty sure the Fred Mole Pavilion isn't. On the other hand, it's a pretty big venue with lots of doors you can open and get some breeze through. And there have been conventions and events hosted there for ages. Address, come on, when's the actual date? I'm sure it's here. They've got a countdown. Heck, it's probably on Facebook as well on their page there. Twitter, and that's another, I'm forgetting.
It's on the 15th of October.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that, Mitch. 10
a.m. to 9 p.m.
So a big full day of geekery with, almost 12 hours of it, which will be interesting to see how what they kind of do as things are winding down. I assume a lot of folks will be probably closing their booths and shutting up after 5 o'clock because a lot of people will have taken their kids. But then again, with any luck, we'll have a lot of folks maybe after they drop their kids back home and get babysitters, or all the other folks who've been stuck with having to work on the day will be able to rock along and do something. The event will kick on afterwards in one shape or another. So that sounds like it's going to be a fun little experience. Where are we? Okay, so I've pinned Ann's post to the top of the Paid to Play feed on Facebook. So let's very quickly nip over for Twitter. Take Adam Coble's one there down. And there we go, unpinned from profile page. Yes, I'm sure, thank you very much. And pin that one. And it's probably asking me, am I sure? Yes, please pin it. Okay, now I was rambling on about episode statistics before I started taking a bit too long rambling on about episode statistics. Okay, so far, Adam Coble's episode has had 127 downloads, including, according to my Blueberry statistics, 97 unique downloads and listens and what have you. Yes, which basically makes it the best performing episode this year. It has almost doubled Twerkin's downloads, which as of this date is 66 with 51 unique downloads. So yeah, that was great. I think it might have helped that I did a pretty good job of actually promoting Adam's episode, especially on Twitter. I also had quite a few folks get behind it and spread the word, including Roll20. And I'm hoping to organise a chat with one of the main folks there sometime soon. Fingers crossed things will work out for that. What else is going on in podcast news? Now, I've chats in the can very quickly before I move on to the other topic I want to mention. Kimberly Clark, of course, will go up on May the 29th. I've also got a chat in the can with a fantastic lady by the name of Bernadette Bentley, who is basically going all in on being herself as an entertainer and her various other endeavors. She acts, she sings, she dances. She is a big-time Xena warrior princess geek. She actually has a great, I'm pretty sure it's, studio quality, costume quality, Xena costume. Go check out her photos. I think I've linked to her on the podcast feed on Facebook and Twitter. And, blink and you would mistake her for Lucy Lawless. And make sure to listen to the episode because I asked her to do the Xena war cry, which she does after making sure she gets a bit of distance between herself and her microphone. But it was a really great chat and really got me thinking about what it means to go all in on yourself. And that's something else I want to talk about in a few minutes. What is the time? It's coming up on 9 o'clock, so you've got a bit more time of me rambling on. Patreon, I wanted to talk about a little bit right at the moment, specifically with regard to these launch parties. And it's a good thing I've got you on this chat, Mitch, because I was wanting to get a little bit of your feedback on this and tell me what you think. One thing that has kind of been bothering me a little bit about these launch parties is that they come out at the exact same time that I put out a new episode of the show, and I always kind of have the feeling that I'm competing with myself. I mean, if people are subscribed to the Pay to Play podcast, then they'll get the episode down in their feeds and what have you. And if they're fans of it on Twitter, on Facebook, or whatever, they'll see the links to these launch parties once they get uploaded and live. But I occasionally think that I'm competing with myself for my audience's attention. Maybe I've got two different audiences, one lot who will download and listen to the episodes, the other lot will come along to the launch parties. But then again, given that the overall focus of this endeavor is the podcast and talking with people who are working on getting paid to play, part of me is wondering whether or not this is the way that it needs to go. And I had another thing that I kind of have a problem with is at the $11 per episode level, which is what people contribute to get access to these chats via, to actually join them via webcam, as Mitchell is right now. I've got two backers at that level, and the other one, their computer, Google Hangouts just does not want to work with. For whatever reason, I think it might be a slightly older unit or what have you, but whenever they try, basically Google Hangouts chokes on them. The good bit is at least there is the other part of the $11 an episode backing level, which is the voice work, and that's what they do use. The 3 minutes of voice that I give to people for each $11 per episode that they put in. On the other hand, Mitchell here, I mean, Birdie and Mike, who are my other $11 an episode backers, kind of the reason why I'm down with them is because I do voice work for them, so they get me to read for their character parts with the voice stuff that I do. But right at the moment, unless Mitch winds up starting his own fan double, what have you, endeavor, I don't think he has any use for 3 minutes of voice talent work per episode. Would that be kind of fair, Mitch?
I'm not actually sure what to use it for. At first, I thought it'd be really cool, like voicemail, because your voice is like very it's very it's like very announcing. Like you're like a
Yeah.
pretty good announcer.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I have had
But I
people telling me
just
that I have a great voice for radio for years. So, but yeah, I mean, it's like
yeah.
there's voicemail, and like that's one lot of that's one lot of work. That's it might not even be 3 minutes worth, and then yeah, you're paying $11 an episode, and I mean, admittedly, you're getting access to this, which is great, and I'm glad to have you on board. But if you ever wound up with like after 10 episodes, half an hour worth of voice talent, what would you use it for? Would you on sell it to somebody else, or yeah, what would you? What kind of? No, I think
I'd
that went on. But
probably
anyway, I'll let you.
I would probably use it maybe for the radio station, because I'm doing that Japanese radio, and sometimes we get other people in to do like welcome to such and stuff like that. I might actually use it for that.
Right.
Just maybe get a bit of fire. I can't even pronounce that. Variety.
Variety, yeah.
Variety. That's it. Sorry, my English isn't very good.
That's all right. It still might be better than a lot of locals, I would say, but
it's like we don't speak English; we speak Australian.
Exactly. Australia and proud of it. But yeah, I kind of had the idea that instead of sort of doing these launch parties, maybe at the $11 an episode level, do kind of maybe semi-private brainstorming get-togethers. It would, because that's something that I actually used to do for a little while with Birdie and Mike. We would get together for an hour every fortnight, and we would talk about the various things that we've been doing in the past couple of weeks. Not so much for accountability, because I honestly have the feeling that if you try and introduce that kind of negative reinforcement in terms of wanting to do your thing and monetize it and get paid to play, trying to take the thing that you love doing and putting it out there as a public product or service. I don't know, I'm kind of over the whole negative reinforcement idea anyway. I just think maybe some people do get a little bit of extra fire fire behind their backsides from knowing, oh, holy crap, I better make sure I do what I said I was going to do last time, just so I've got something to report next time. But yeah, I've had enough of feeling sad and afraid and having to be accountable to other people. I just want to be about, I'm doing this because I want to encourage people to do their thing because it's awesome and share what they're doing because it's great, or and the other part of the idea is to be able to, it's been said that you're the product of the 5 people whom you spend the most time with, and I like the idea of being able to get together on a regular basis with other people who are actually trying to make a thing out of doing what they love, even if they might not be doing the exact same core activity that you are. There are still things that you have in common because you are trying to set it up as a business, as an income earning activity. And I think being able to spend time with those people to swap ideas, to come up with alternative suggestions that you might not have thought of from your perspective, and also just be amongst people who are taking that similar brave step of trying to get paid to play, especially if you aren't around people who are doing something similar, who maybe at best kind of, pat you on the back and say, that's fantastic, good for you, I've got no idea how I'd ever be able to do that. Because sometimes, what it's like, we all need human contact. We all need to be in with people who maybe kind of even if no one really ever understands anybody, at least people who kind of feel like our people. And sometimes there is that pressure, especially if you're surrounded by people who at the best kind of look at you like, you're doing something that I don't understand, and more power to you, sir or ma'am, but I can't even communicate or relate to that. It's kind of disheartening. It takes a little bit away from doing what you want to do. It makes being able to stand up and have the courage to say, this is me, this is what I do, that little bit harder, because there is that bit of you that just does want to fit in with the people who you're around and in your circumstances. So I had the idea of maybe turning the launch parties into that kind of brainstorming session, where us weirdos who have this idea and this movement on getting paid to play can get together, talk about what we're doing, and swap ideas, get some positive reinforcement, and do some brainstorming as necessary. So that was something that I was sort of thinking of doing. So Mitch, as someone who has come on board at the $11 level with me offering these launch parties, I mean, what do you reckon about that? Do you like, I mean, even if we did still turn up at 8:30 every other Sunday when I put an episode out, but instead of doing a live YouTube thing or a live broadcast thing that went up on YouTube later, we kept it more of as a private thing, and the focus was less on me talking about the podcast and doing the social media updates, and we just talked about, we had a group session about us and about what you've been up to for the past couple of weeks that maybe you wouldn't feel comfortable talking about in a more public session like this one.
I think it'll be pretty good. I think you'll get ideas from your backers' perspective as well. And it could give you ideas to maybe say, you were saying earlier about you're putting out a previous episode and you're doing your live Google sessions on the same day. So maybe say like you put it out on like the previous episode, you put it out on like a Wednesday the week before. So that way, instead of going from Sunday to Sunday, people can watch you in the middle of the week, and then they can watch you on the weekend. So it's like a good amount of time that they can kind of think about the podcast itself, and then they'll come back on that Sunday.
I see what you mean. It's a thought. I mean, I've got to admit, part of me, the main reason why I do why I kind of launch it on a Sunday is just because it's a morning thing and I can make sure all the social media stuff is shepherded and updated properly. But yeah, I suppose, if we do put out, that episode, and I guess that's more on the angle of actually maybe keeping it more on that launch party aspect and talking more about the episode itself that's just gone, or would you even say include that as part of that brainstorming session chat, because we can then discuss that episode from the perspective of what ideas it gives us in terms of what we're doing?
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good idea, actually. You can talk about that, and maybe it will give you ideas for like the next Google live session. Maybe it'll give you ideas on what to talk about, or if you have like a new idea and you want to put it out live and see what people think, then comes the Q&A will come in, and then I think it would be pretty good.
Okay, so sort of maybe on that thought, put the episodes out, then have the private brainstorming session, but still have the public launch party live chat thing like this.
Yeah.
Okay. That is a thought. I've got to admit, I hadn't thought of that. There is part of me that looks at my time schedule and sort of says, all right, when would I be doing these things? Because of course it's, it's 9:10 on a Sunday morning at the moment. And if I did do a get together, at the very least, it will probably be around about the same time, because it's early enough that you and I can sort of get up a little bit earlier than we otherwise would on a Sunday and come hang out. It also means, and if you will forgive me, folks, let's face it, this podcast does have a kind of a bit of a Western bias, because most of my audience is in the in Australia, in the UK, and in the US. So this kind of time, it allowed Sim Lauren to come along for her episode's launch party a few weeks ago, and it also allows folks in the States to come along as well. So I guess maybe on that score, if I were to adjust the backer level, I replaced the launch party backing with the brainstorming session. And I guess, are you, as an $11 an episode backer, are you just happy to keep that voice talent level there? Or, could I change things around and make the $11 level, an episode level, about things like the combined access to a brainstorming session and the launch party kind of thing?
Well, I think so. Being the highest amount to be a backer, I think maybe some of these backers can discuss like what's going to happen and stuff like that. Because them being backers as well, because this show also affects them because they're paying to see what's happening and stuff like that, and what's going on, and to get new ideas. And if they put new ideas forward, it could not only further you, but it could further them into becoming, say, like a higher backer, putting and donating more money into seeing more content coming through.
Okay, so I guess it would be almost the. And I'm still kind of thinking about scheduling a bit here, maybe making the brainstorming session a Saturday morning thing, Friday night for the Friday afternoon. Would that necessarily work? Because at the moment, what time is it? Let's see, it's 9:15 now. So if I do a quick web search for current time, let's say Los Angeles, which is US Pacific time, it's 4:30 on Saturday afternoon at the moment. So my only worry is if I say do a brainstorming session on the Saturday Australian time, it's kind of 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday US time, and it might lose me those people who would be coming in, who still work the 9 to 5 in the States. So that's kind of a tricky thing to keep in mind, is to, if I do split things out and do a launch party, which is going to have to be on a weekend my time, but do a brainstorming session beforehand. Either I do it really early, say 7:30 on a Saturday morning, so that allows folks in the UK to come in, maybe about 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, and US folks Saturday afternoon, then stop that and do the launch party. So I basically do a 2-hour stretch every fortnight on a Sunday, and then launch the episodes on Wednesdays or what have you instead. So people, like you said, do have time to download and listen, and be able to come back with some feedback for the actual online get-together. That could work, I suppose. All right, well, thank you very much for that, Mitch. I'll have to knock some notes together on that, put them up on the Patreon group, and see about getting some more feedback. And so that way, at least people at the $11 episode level, they get access to the Patreon wall. They get a thank you video from me. They get a little bit of voice work from the $7 backing level. I'll keep that in. They also get the early access to the episodes, and they get a brainstorming session and launch party access. All right. Well, anyway, where was I up to? So yeah, we've had a good chat about the general state of the podcast. And so very quickly, while we've got about a quarter of an hour left, the general fun stuff, what we've all been doing to get paid to play, with a specific focus on me, of course. So Pathfinder finally went off on Wednesday. We got about a third of the way through the module that I downloaded, which is the first one for the Pathfinder Society Season 6. I think it's called Trial by Machine. It was a bit of a slow start. My party, unfortunately, a couple of them couldn't make it, so it was just a 3-player session at the time. They were playing very cagey, very cautious, which is probably fair enough when you've got an inexperienced dungeon master who's not out to kill you, but simply because he's not particularly too worried about the ins and outs of a complex system. Might wind up accidentally doing you to death, but that's one of the main reasons why I'm using a pre-published module, because a lot of that thinking is already done for me, thankfully. Some voice work of mine went up. I mentioned Birdie and Mike Diamond a little bit earlier on. On their Patreon page, Journeybird's Wonderland, you can find my narration of their monologue called The Choice of Lincoln Green. It's for their fiction project called Arrows in Flight, which is sort of loosely, they're basically hardcore fans of the Arrow TV series. So this is sort of their response / love letter to that. And I sort of tell the inner mindset of the lead character, Miles Austin, aka Robin Hood, who is the green-clad bow and arrow wielding dispenser of justice in their fiction. So go have a listen to that. And if you can back them as well, if they get enough coming in on a regular basis, they will actually be able to afford to hire me on as voice talent rather than just getting me to do bits and pieces through Patreon backing. As I think, again, I mentioned earlier on, thanks to Ann Tworek, my guest for today's episode, I discovered a forum called the Voice Acting Alliance, put her thing up there and wound up recording an audition for someone's project which required an Australian accent. It's still very much an early day, so more than that I can't really talk about, especially as it wasn't, the invitation wasn't on the public board, it was a private message. So we'll see how we go, and yes, I'm definitely looking forward to getting the Patreon backing for May, because that means I will be able to invest in replacing this kit, which unfortunately is great at picking up the plosives and sometimes breath sounds, with a decent microphone. Not full-on studio quality. With any luck, I'll be able to invest in one of those a bit further down the track, but just something that that will replace my previous microphone, which bit the dust, and that will allow me to do a bit more mobile audio recording. And aside from that, I kind of did want to mention something that came out of my chat with Bernadette Bentley, but you know what, given what Mitchell and I just discussed about saving it for later on and reorganizing my launch schedule so that we can actually get the episode between people's ears, and so that these parties aren't really a launch party, they're just sort of a public hangout celebrating getting paid to play. I think I'll save it until episode, I'm pretty sure, where are we? I'm just having a look at my board for my upcoming episode schedule. Where are we? I think it's going to be episode 85, which will be on Sunday the 10th of July. That will go live for. So yeah, I think I'll save it until then, when you've had a chance to listen to my chat with Bernadette, where the topic I want to discuss comes up and we sort of noodle it out. And I'd like to get your feedback on that, folks. Yeah, aside from that, Mitch, have you been putting up any new videos on your YouTube channel? Any more Let's Plays or any fun stuff like that?
Actually, I have started playing a Wii game called Fragile Dreams.
Uh-huh.
It just kicked off last week, and it scares the living daylights out of me.
Okay.
It's not even like it's not even a scary game, but I don't play many scary games, and it's an anime game, and it's pretty much like a wasteland game. You go out and you try and find people, you find clues, and you're trying to figure out what happened to humanity, because to you, you're like the only person left. And then you come across this girl that's pretty much where I got up to.
Mm.
And but the controls are freaking me out because wherever you point, because it's a Wii, wherever you point, that's where the light's going to be shining. So I'm like forever just just lighting up the place. And the enemies you face are like ghosts, and like they trying to attack you, and the only way to hurt them is obviously with your torch, because you shine them and then you whack them with a stick. It's horrifying. It's so horrifying. And I had to crawl through this crawl space, and I was crouching. I was like, no, this isn't happening. This is so not happening. I was like, I'm not going through there. I'm going to go around.
Oh, God. I tell you what, after... I was about to say, after playing Alien Isolation, I kind of came to the realization that the game... I mean, most of the time I think of it as being more tense than scary, but I find that it's scariest when you can't see where the alien is, when it's kind of in the same general vicinity as you, and you're sort of peering over tables and obstructions and going, okay, there it is. It's not looking in this general direction at the moment. Let me see if I can maybe make it from here to there and get through that door without alerting it, or maybe even see if I can make it into that locker. That's tense, but yeah, playing a game where you're basically just limited. It's a Wii game, not a Wii U game, right? So you're basically using like you said, the motion controller to basically, and all you've got is this freaking spotlight of light that you can actually see. Oh, but and I guess all the rest of you've got all the noises and what have you playing around, and you can't really see what's going on. God, that must be it must absolutely work your nerves.
It makes it worse because it's fully interactive. So the voices, like noises like crackling fire and rocks falling, all that noise, wherever you're pointing, it'll come through the actual controller. So if a frog croaks and you're pointing in that area, it'll croak. And it scares me because I can hear every little thing that's going on wherever I point. At one part, I just run and scream. I'm just legging it.
Yeah. Oh, but I'll have to go check those videos out. So if anybody, if you're looking for a local PewDiePie where there's going to be lots of screaming at gaming videos going on, then go check out Yoko's Corner on YouTube as he as he plays through that one. That's probably going to be you'll get a good deal of Schadenfreude out of it.
There's going to be tons.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think on that score, aside from that, Mitch, have you've been watching any decent anime or anything lately, or?
No, I've actually put a halt on anime because I'm kind of running behind on content.
Right.
And I found a group on Google Plus that were they're making the most out of Minecraft on the Xbox 360. They're making the most out of it, and they're trying to start like a small community. And they're trying to, because on PC you got like plugins, you got servers that do like economies and stuff like that. They don't have that on 360, and so they've started to create their own economy, which I thought would be pretty cool. So I went and checked it out, and you go on like a trial basis, but it just shows that people that buy these games, even though there's a limit to what you can do in the game, well, it's not really a limit, but they still make the most of that game, which I think was pretty cool, and I really want to get into what they're doing.
Fantastic.
Because they got a pretty good setup, but yeah, it's too bad that they've had to kick so many people out because they're not following the rules.
All right.
But yeah.
That Minecraft is one of those games. I think I tried to get into at one point. I'm sure I downloaded a local PC client, but just I don't know. I think it's a little bit too open, a little bit too much of a sandbox for me. So it's just not quite my taste, unfortunately. But the creativity that I have seen people put into it, I mean, for crying out loud, I'm sure at one point I saw that somebody had actually gone to the time and effort to recreate the entirety of the Federation starship Voyager from Star Trek Voyager, even down to the fact that you could actually, it wasn't just a full-scale thing of the Voyager in the game. You could even go into it through the doors and wander the corridors and go onto the bridge and go into engineering, and yeah, it's scary sometimes. The sheer amount of enthusiasm that people, when you actually get a game that sort of opens itself up and lets you at its tools, the amount of stuff that a community that's based around it will come up with is amazing.
Well, I actually just got off a map last night with someone who recreated the shopping mall of Dead Rising. And yeah, and it's so elaborate and it's really cool. They even have like a redstone circuit that activates the lights, the fountains. Like they even got the park in the middle. They got it's massive. Like it's really cool. And
wow.
It's to our characters, I think it's to scale. But it's really big, and I don't think I could put that much time into making something like that.
No.
It would just take me too long. And I'm not that good with redstone. So
yeah.
But it's just really cool. It was really cool to see. I'm hoping to showcase it. And because I don't think they have a recorder, so they're going to see if I could. He was seeing if I could record it or something. Maybe I'll send in the video and he could upload it or something. But I just think it's really cool. People making the most of their games. That in Minecraft is really kicking off. It's probably in like the top charts of the most played games at the moment.
Yeah, it seems to have a momentum that I think only really The Sims had before it. I mean, I remember sort of in the late 90s, it was just, early 2000s, The Sims was just absolutely bloody everywhere. And I mean, people would, you talk about your AAA titles, I think Call of Duty and what have you was on at the time, but I'm trying to think what were like the main first-person shooters. I think at the time they were like Unreal Tournament and things like that, and you'd have that hardcore gaming element there. But when it came down to it, they think that they were the be-all and end-all of games. But really, what was selling? What were people going out and buying in droves? It was The Sims. That was what people were actually, the great majority of people were spending their gaming dollar on, much to the hardcore community's chagrin, I think. So yes, these really simple concept, almost easy to. I mean, I have the feeling Minecraft might lose a few people where The Sims might not quite so much. At least you can look at The Sims and have an idea of what's going on quite quickly. But yeah, these very simple, non-violent, really open games seem to be the ones that thankfully and of course that nobody talks about, because everyone really wants to talk about video game violence and how it's driving us all to mass psychosis and the root cause of the various shootings, all that sort of thing. And on that score alone, I'm glad that Minecraft is doing so bloody well.
Yeah, and see, with The Sims, I couldn't play The Sims because every time I seemed to play The Sims, my house would spontaneously catch fire. I don't know what it was. I could be like making toast, and the next minute the toast flings out and catches fire to like the fridge, even though that couldn't be possible because it's metal. Everything would just start burning up, and then I'd be like frantically going, "What do I do? Where's the water? What is that guy doing? He's doing nothing. He's getting mail. Like, why is he getting mail? It's on fire." And then someone goes, and they go off to work. It's like, the house is on fire. Put it out. And they'll just leave, and I'll be stuck there with an empty house and just watching it burn.
Oh dear. Well, anyway, it is now 9:30, so I think that is about time to wrap things up for another session of the Pay to Play podcast launch party. Please come back in a couple of weeks' time. The next chat is going to be with Kimberly Clark. I must again thank Wayne Nichols for getting me in touch with Kimberly. She is an Australian novelist who specializes in the erotic urban fantasy genre. So less romance and more general sexy, complete with demons and wizards and monster hunters and all that kind of fun stuff. She has a trilogy of novels out so far, which you can buy from discerning bookstores and download via Amazon. So yes, it was a great chat with her about what it means to be a novelist in this 21st century era of Kindles and reading on tablets and Google Play books and all that kind of thing. So in the meantime, Mitchell, thank you again very much for coming along to the party.
No worries, Rob. It was really fun.
And to everybody, this is Rob Farker asking you to be good, be kind, and be a little dangerous.